pod bay doors.
Greetings and welcome to another exciting episode of The Cinematic Traveler. I am your intrepid movie exploring host Chris, and on this episode we will be re-entering the zombie-like apocalypse in the UK that began way back in the film 28 Days Later. This one is called 28 Years Later, and it is directed by series originator Danny Boyle. And I cannot lie, I was excited to see this movie. I was a big fan of the original. The second one was all right, but we'll see if the third one can bring the franchise back or if it's DOA. Now, before I get into everything, you know I have to ask you, because you have listened to other podcasts and you have watched other YouTube videos, but please, if you could follow, subscribe, leave comments, leave a review, I would greatly appreciate it, as it does help me in the show. If you could share the show with your friends, family members, zombies, on social media, which is full of zombies, I would appreciate that as well, because as I mentioned, it does help me and the show. It helps you. You won't miss any of my future episodes, and you can go back and hear my previous amazing reviews, hear this sexy voice, and on a few episodes you will get to see this sexy face. The zombie-like sexy face right now. But I hope you're doing well out there, my beloved listener, as this world is tearing itself apart. We are in the middle of the summer. It is extremely hot. I don't know if many of you had heard the news, because there's been so much chaos in the world, but the state in which I live in, South Carolina, has been relocated onto the surface of the sun. It is boiling here. It's probably boiling where you're at, so you know what? Grab a cold one, sit back, and enjoy the show, and hopefully I can divert your attention from the impending World War III that the jackass that is leading my country is rushing us headlong into. Oh, I know, I try not to be political, but Jesus Christ, come on already. Can't we do better? After all this time, can't we do better? All right, I promise. I know some of you are canceling out right now. I won't say anything else. Let's go ahead and talk about 28 Years Later.
Yeah, it's going to be fun on the bun.
And as I mentioned, this is directed by the series originator Danny Boyle, Academy Award winner Danny Boyle, for films like Slumdog Millionaire. As I mentioned, he did the first film 28 Days Later. He did Trainspotting. He did a very good sci-fi film. It flies a little under the radar, called Sunshine. If you have a chance, go check that out. It's got a stellar cast in it. My only problem with that movie is it doesn't really stick to the landing. But other than that, he obviously has some great films under his belt, and he is reteaming with series original writer Alex Garland, no slouch as a director himself. So hopefully they can bring some life back to this franchise. Now, before I get into everything, I do want to let you know I'm going to give you a spoiler-free review as well as a spoiler-free plot synopsis. And in that plot synopsis, I have hidden a movie quote from a film that either shares some DNA with this film or runs maybe parallel to it. If you can identify where that quote is from, get in touch with me, I guess, on my social media at Cinematic Traveler Pod on Instagram is probably the best way to do it, or my email, thecinematicctravelerpod@gmail.com, or in the comment section. I will find the answer and I will award you a point for it. At the end of the month, I add up all the points, and whoever wins gets to pick a movie for me to review next month. Oh my God, how exciting. How exciting is that? How excited. That will bring you back from the dead, just so you can find a movie and be in charge of this episode and make this monkey dance. I will do it for you. I will do it for you. So pay attention, find that quote, get in touch with me. Now, I know what you're saying. Let's get on with this. And I could not agree more. So we open the film with one of the most disturbing images I have ever seen in a horror movie, probably in quite some time. That is the Teletubbies. No, not the Teletubbies. Dear God, why? The horror. That's not the movie quote. Well, it is quickly revealed that a room full of kids is watching the show as their parents panic because of the start of the deadly virus way back in the first movie, 28 Days Later. Now, after we see a young boy escape the zombie-like infected, we jump ahead in time. Let me see. Let me check my notes. How many years? Oh, that's right. 28 years later. Oh, that is so lame. Where the UK has been quarantined from the rest of the world because of their terrible food. No, because of their terrible dentistry. No, that's awful. Because of the infected still living there. Now, the uninfected that have been trapped in the UK have established a home on a small island just off the coast of the mainland. Now, this is where we meet our young hero Spike, played by Alfie Williams, who is going on his first expedition to the mainland with his dad Jamie, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. Well, Spike's mom, played by Jodie Comer, is none too happy that he is going to the mainland because it is extremely dangerous out there, but she has this mysterious disease that has her running fevers and has lapses in her memory, so she can't really inflict her will on him. So off he goes with his dad. After a few close calls with the cannibalistic infected, led by that big dick swinging alpha infected, Spike sees a fire in the distance and learns there is a mysterious hermit like doctor, played by Ralph Fiennes, that lives out there among the infected. Spike quickly develops a plan: grab his mom, sneak her out to the doctor, get her cured, go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint, wait for this all to blow over. How is that for fried gold? Hint, hint. Yes, I had to pretend like I was holding up a pint there. If you know the movie, you know I had to do it. So, will Spike be able to save his mom while traversing this land of the dead? Or will the infected develop a taste for Spike and chips? Well, that's not bad. That's kind of clever. Well, I'm not going to spoil the movie and tell you those answers, but I will give you the best review in all of the podcaster YouTuber universe for 28 years later. Now, as this is a spoiler-free review, it's going to make it a bit challenging because I really don't want to give anything away for this movie because, well, you know what? Let's just go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about the positives of 28 years later.
Sounds pleasant.
I'm going to start naturally in the first place that you know the movie's going to be great, and that is the direction by Danny Boyle. I mean, the guy's got an Academy Award for a reason, and he is flexing his muscles in this movie. I'll start off with my favorite stuff if you've listened to me long enough. I love the way cameras move around, and Danny Boyle is not afraid to keep you visually entertained with what he is doing with the camera. There are some pretty cool shots where people are running and the camera's swinging at them and then it swings back around. He keeps a frenetic pace whenever the infected, I'm just going to call them zombies because that's what they are. You know, in 28 Days Later, they kind of established the fast running zombies that Zack Snyder ripped off. Anyway, so we're back with that. So you automatically get that frenetic pace whenever they're chasing someone. And Danny Boyle knows how to shoot that. Get you right in there, and you're chasing behind you, and then he'll pull back and have a nice shot where you see him coming, and you're like, oh my God, they're not going to make it. They're not going to make it. Oh, they made it. And of course, like I said, I mean, come on, Danny Boyle. Film looks great. There are some amazing vista shots of, I think this is the Highlands of Scotland. I know there are some accents in here. I'm going to warn you Americans out there now. Ooh, there's some points of this movie with some of these accents. It was kind of tough. But yes, the Highlands of Scotland is beautiful. He takes full advantage of that, again, with these sweeping vistas while Spike is out there traveling, especially with his mom, as they go deeper into the mainland that a lot of people haven't gone into. It's a pretty cool shot I like where they show the cities or the town sort of pre-outbreak and how pristine it was, and as they walk up to it, it kind of fades into like everything's overgrown and torn up. So yeah, I don't want to harp too much on the direction because that's what you would expect from Danny Boyle. He brings the tension with the humanity of the story as well as the graphicness of the horror. We will have a gore score on this film, and he does not hold back. There's a lot of blood and gore. The zombies are not to be taken lightly, of course. But again, you also get a nice balance of this really poignant story. It's a hero's journey. We have a young man who is basically leaving his childhood behind and learning how to be a man, learning what the world is really about, that not everybody's honest, and not everything goes the way you want it to go, and not everything in life is fair. And he finds that out in a very difficult way at the end. There's a lot of messaging with dealing with loss and dealing with the isolation that these people have and this community that they have, and also just stuff about war. There's some pretty cool shots where Danny Boyle interjects different scenes from older movies with knights and World War I. That's why that poem, I forget who it's by, Kipling maybe, gets repeated a lot because it talks about, I think, World War I. So yeah, there's a lot of imagery, a lot of interesting takes on a horror. This isn't just your typical zombie movie where things are chasing everybody around and you just got to get away. There's some deeper meanings, some more interesting characters, get you more invested. And of course, that's the best part about a good horror movie, is that you care about really any movie, that you care about the characters. I mean, you could take an action movie, a comedy, a romantic comedy, whatever, a drama. If you don't care about the characters, the movie's going to suck. So again, yeah, Danny Boyle knows how to do all of that, and he makes a nice return back to form with this film. And of course, that leads into the next positive film, is the cast. I especially like the young man, Alfie Williams, who plays Spike. I think he does a really good job. This is basically a kid actor. I think he's maybe 12, 13 years old, but he's got a lot of this movie that he has to carry on his shoulders, and he does a great job. He conveys, again, a lot of the fear that a young man would have going into this environment the first time he goes out and sees the infected and has to fight them and deal with them. And then really they lose at certain points where they have to haul ass and get out of there, and just the fear that comes with that. Also, the struggle he has with his mom because he wants to help her out, as any child would. And that's what leads him onto this dangerous mission to find the doctor. And through the course of that, he has to basically grow to be a man, to be the hero, and deal with loss and tragedy as well as victories along the way. And I think Alfie does a really great job. I was really impressed. I mean, that was a lot to put on a child actor, and he handles it very well. And of course, Jodie Comer, she's pretty much great in everything. And she handles this mother who, again, is struggling with this disease that gets revealed later. We're going to get to in a moment. But just the symptoms from that, and then trying to be this mother to the child, and especially when they're out on the road and, struggling with that and what she can and can't do and all that fun stuff. So, of course, she can pull that off very well. There's a nice touching connection between her and Spike, as well as there's a connection between Spike early on with his dad, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. I'm going to say this a lot. He does a good job as the father, although we'll get into some issues with that character as well. But at the very beginning of the movie, they're going out on this expedition, and Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, Jamie, he's sort of by the numbers, kind of, maybe hard edge. He's proud of his son, but he knows that once they go out there into the mainland, that he can't fuck around. You got to pay attention. You got to do what I say, or we're going to die, or something bad's going to happen, and no one's coming out to save us. So he has to be a little tougher and a little more demanding of Spike, whereas with the mother, you get the maternal thing. So yeah, it's a nice contrast, and especially when you're going from the beginning of the movie and what Alfie has to go through with his dad to the middle end of the movie, what he's going through with his mother. So yeah, again, another nice contrast, very emotional, brings you into the movie. You actually care about these characters. The last performance, I think it really stands out. Again, is this another actor I even have to say did a good job, and that's Ralph Fiennes. He plays the doctor, the mysterious doctor. Who isn't that mysterious? But of course, Ralph Fiennes. I'm not even gonna, I'm not even gonna say anything about his performance, because he's Ralph Fiennes, and if you don't expect a good performance out of him, you're crazy. So let's see. The last positive film, as I mentioned, it's gory. It does not hold back with the horror elements of it. These infected are nasty zombie creature things, and oh my god, it's repulsive at points. There are moments I had to look away. There's a nasty zombie birth. Ugh, that's so gross. Anyway, so there's lots of blood, lots of gore, lots of carnage. So if you're into that stuff, you're going to enjoy this movie. Again, Danny Boyle does not hold back in that regard. Now, while this movie has plenty of positives, there are a few things that are a little shaky with this film. So let's talk about the negatives of 28 years later.
Uh-oh, I don't like the sound of that.
And I think we'll start, I mentioned the father, Jamie, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, and his character in the movie. Of course, it's a Hollywood movie, so at a certain point, the dad has to be a complete piece of shit. Yay! He started off so good, too. At the beginning of the movie, I'm like, oh, this is great. We got a good dad. He's teaching his son, and then, oh, he's a piece of shit. Oh, okay, great. Yay! Yay, Hollywood. But also, his character sort of disappears once Alfie goes on his journey with the mother. And you don't see him again, not to spoil anything, but you don't see him again, really, for the rest of the movie, which was disappointing, because it would have been cool to add him into there. You have a lot of that with characters. Someone will show up, give you enough, I don't know, exposition, or in a certain case with some soldiers that show up, are there just to save the day, and then things happen and we move on. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed with that, as much as I cared about Alfie and his journey. And then it gets nice with the mom, but like characters like even Ralph Fiennes' character is the doctor. He just shows up for his section of the movie, and that's kind of it. it was just one of those things where, like with the dad, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot he's in the movie, or here's this group of people. Okay, I know they'll be leaving. Oh yeah, here's this. Okay, it kind of felt like that as you're watching the movie. It's not really developing a lot of the secondary characters that would have helped with this journey, this hero's journey. I did talk about the soldier. I don't really want to go into that, but you've seen it in the previews. There's some stuff with the soldiers. Yeah, that was kind of disappointing for me. I mean, it led to some really good gory stuff and all, but at the same time, as soon as they showed up, I was like, okay, I know what this is. And as soon as things happened favorably for Spike, I was like, okay, I know where all of this is going to end up at. And so it was kind of disappointing in that regard. And it felt very, I know I tell you, I don't watch reviews before I do my review, but it's hard not to see stuff on social media where it's just a post about, oh, this movie is, and someone was like, this has changed the genre again. And I really didn't feel like that as I was watching this movie. It kind of felt like your typical zombie movie. I mean, how many times have we seen the character wander off into the apocalyptic wasteland and have to deal with zombies and everything's grown over and there's people out there that want to do them harm and all that shit. This is kind of the same thing here, and that's kind of how it felt with the secondary characters, the soldiers, the doctors, even the dad. And it was like, okay, I've kind of seen all this stuff before, and the world building doesn't really help the situation. And I don't know, this, I'm going to put it in the negatives because it's my show and I can do whatever the fuck I want. But it might be kind of nitpicky because there are things in this movie where I was watching it and I was like, okay, would it be like that in the real world? And I know you're supposed to shut your brain off a little bit, but like the whole quarantine of the UK, as I mentioned, the soldiers show up in this part of the movie. Well, they're from one of these boats. There's military boats from other nations that sort of patrol the area to make sure nobody gets off of the island or gets out of the UK. And they keep everything quarantined, obviously. So I couldn't help but think about, okay, if we can do all that, and there's survivors there because they're on this island, it's pretty much out in the open, but they have to go into the mainland and scrounge for food and supplies and stuff. I'm thinking, wouldn't you get, you could airdrop food or airdrop supplies to them, or there's boats out there they could meet halfway and never even touch each other or anything like that. There's this whole thing with the doctor that he has to go find the doctor for his mom. And I'm like, you're telling me no one could get medical supplies? There's no way to get communication to it. There's all kind of things that could be done with this world that never really gets answered. And it was bothering me. It was just in the back of my head where I was like, okay, it wouldn't work this way. Somebody would have some kind of communication with them and be able to go, okay, listen, we're going to send some supplies, or we'll send a team of, I mean, Jesus, in this world, you don't think there would be some doctor who would volunteer to go out there and try to help people? Obviously, it wouldn't be an American doctor because there would be no money in it for him. But I'm sure some doctor somewhere in the world would be like, okay, we'll take a team. I mean, there are people that go into places in this world that no one really has any reason to go to help people. So it was tough to buy that they were that isolated, especially when they're living on that little island out there. And it's obvious when someone's infected and how quickly they turn. So I don't know. There was just some stuff with the world building that I wish there would maybe have been some dialogue or something better to explain why, okay, they can't even get supplies from anybody or any kind of communication or anything like that. It's kind of weird in that regard. My next negative for the film is and I have to warn you, at the previews, obviously you're going to show the zombie stuff and all that. This movie isn't that. This isn't really a negative, but it is kind of a negative because I know when you see something like that, you think you're going to go into a typical zombie movie where shit's chasing everybody and they're running, they're trying to get, and it's kind of like that in points. But as I mentioned earlier, it's developing this story about this child who is growing into a man and having to deal with all this shit that he has to deal with and learning about the real world. So you get a lot more character development. You get a lot more slow moments in the film. It's convenient that the zombies know when to stay away and when to show up. It's like, oh, we need a scary moment here. Okay, the zombies are back. But yeah, this isn't fast paced. So I know there were teenagers in my audience and they were having some issues with the pacing. I was having some issues with them because I'm turning into a grumpy ass old man and I don't like teenagers. Of course, I don't like old people either, so I'm really fucked. And I'm trying to think. The ending is different. Oh boy, it's different. It's really like a whole different movie. It was the weirdest thing. So I'm going to warn you, but this isn't really negative. This is sort of a warning. So I'm just going to kind of put it in this area. But yeah, you're going to have an ending to this film. It feels like maybe Danny Boyle had to leave at the very end, and they were like, "Hey, Sam Raimi, can you come in and film this scene for us?" And I was like, I was down for it. This scene happens, I was like, oh, I want to watch this movie. Whatever this is what I want to see. So I don't know if that's setting up the sequel. But it's be prepared. The tone shifts dramatically at the end of this movie. Now, before I get to my final verdict, let me give you a gore score. This is the only thing I can give a number rating to, with 1 being little or no gore and 5 being like Terrifier 3 levels of gore. This one's pretty high. I'm going to go about a 4.5. You get a lot of severed body parts, a lot of blood spraying everywhere, and people eating things. Be warned, you're going to see a lot of zombie schlongs and butts and boobs. So, yeah, you're getting the works here. Be prepared to have your stomach get a little turned from time to time. But my overall impression of the movie, I enjoyed it. I don't think it's this groundbreaking, amazing piece of cinema. I like that Danny Boyle is taking swings for the fences and doing different things as far as some of the narrative of the film, and bringing us some interesting characters, especially our young hero Spike, and you actually feel for him. You care about him. You're worried that he's not going to make it, or his mom's not going to make it, or something's going to happen, and this and that and the other, which is always, as I mentioned, helpful in a horror movie. But again, it feels very much, if you break it down, it's a typical zombie apocalypse movie where we have to get from point A to point B, and we got to cut through the cities and all that shit. So I would say, if you're a fan of the other movies, I would tell you to go watch it, because I think it's a good continuation. I am interested to see what they're going to take next. But for most people, I would say just wait for it to come out on streaming services, because I think, especially here in America, a lot of people are going to be going in expecting, the zombie onslaught type of movie, and that's not what this is. If you would like to see, maybe, I would like to say this is more of a God, this is going to sound weird, and I don't mean it this way, but an adult type of horror movie, and not those kind of adult type of horror movies. You could find them on the internet anyway. But no, this one is, it's not, like I said, it's not for teens just wanting mindless fun, or people like me. I like my mindless horror flicks, but I also like something where you got to think about it, and you got to, invest in the movie. You got to pay attention to the whole thing. So, yeah, it's a very tepid recommendation for me. For most people, I would say just wait for it to come out on streaming. Not saying it's a bad movie. I just don't think it's going to fall into what people think it's going to be. But I could be wrong, but probably not. As most of my avid listeners know, I am never wrong when it comes to my movie reviews. So that wraps up our review. If you're still listening, I must have done something right again. Please follow, subscribe, leave comments, play the contest, give me a review, share the show with everybody. I would appreciate it. I will be back. I'm not exactly sure how soon, because I get the pleasure of reviewing last month's contest winner's choice for films. And I think this weekend poses a little bit of a challenge as far as new movies. There's the F1 racing movie with Brad Pitt, but there is also the schlock that will be Megan 2.0. And I love my schlock, so you'll have to come back. It'll be a mystery for you and me as to which movie I will be reviewing next weekend. But I should be doing the contest winners episode either soon or by the end of the month. I've got a few days. I better get my ass in gear, right? So please come back and watch and listen to my next episode. As far as this one's concerned, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen or watch. I tell everyone I know I've got the smartest and sexiest audience in all the podcaster YouTuber universe, and you never fail to live up to those high standards. Now, as you're traveling around on this blue and green ball bouncing through the cosmos, avoiding giant schlong zombies, I need you to do one thing for me. Go out there and do that voodoo that you do so well.
All right, show's over. I'm tired.